Okay, let's see if it works a little better this time. I set the camera on its stands and it dropped the first time, so I have to try this again. I didn't get too far into it though, so what I just got asked is, it was noticed by a friend that I favorited the video where DrDavid Schultz, a wrestler, slaps 2020 reporter John Stossel right during an investigation. 2020 was investigating professional wrestling to determine, is it real or is it fake? And two wrestlers were on the side of 2020, Jim Wilson and Eddie Mansfield, and they were both very adamant that it was fake. So Stossel takes an inside look at various wrestlers. He first asks the Iron Sheik about the validity of it, and the Sheik just says, "You believe wrestling? Phony, you come into the ring with me. I take your head off." Well, Stossel said, "No, I won't go in the ring with you." Well, DrDavid Schultz was a middle to high card draw, and his gimmick was to be unstable. And he, right in character, whacks Stossel not once but twice in the ear, and very hard, giving him permanent ear damage. The World Wrestling Federation, I believe, settled out of court financially. I don't remember what the dollar figure was. I think I was about 13 or 14 when that aired. But I do remember watching that on 2020. And Eddie Mansfield, one of the ex-wrestlers, showed that they cut their forehead with a razor blade to bleed. And in wrestling terminology, they say they're getting juiced if they're going to have to cut themselves. Well, DrDavid Schultz was fired by the World Wrestling Federation. But he contends to this day that the reason he was let go is because they got in trouble. But he was told by Vince McMahon and others that he must protect the business. So how do I feel about that? I guess it's a double-edged sword. I believe he was told to do that. I believe that he was told by the World Wrestling Federation, if not McMahon, somebody very important there, told him, you got to stay in character and you got to protect our reputation. So I believe that he was told that. Now, we also all believe, or we should believe, that you still are in control of what you do. So it is ultimately his fault that he attacked that reporter, whether he was told to or not. On the other hand, if he has a wife and 3 kids or whatever he had, I don't know exactly what his home life was, but it was something like that. And you're thinking in terms of, you're probably damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you don't do it, you're probably going to get fired because you didn't follow orders. If you do it, you're probably going to get fired because your company's going to get bad publicity, especially because of you. So what do you do? I think it's ultimately Schultz's fault because he did hit the man. He did attack the man physically. This man is not a professional athlete. He was not prepared for an attack. He just comes out and hits him. So whether the World Wrestling Federation told him to do so or not, and they probably did. They probably did. So there is blame to go around. But I think ultimately it is you're in control of what you do. I mean, if you're at work and your boss tells you to physically attack somebody, you're probably going to lose your job. But if you make it public enough that the reason you're being let go is because you didn't attack somebody when you were told to, you've got a better chance of further employment. Schultz is pretty much, his professional wrestling career is pretty much looked at as that's the only thing he ever did. And that's a bit of a shame because he really has, for the last 23 years, tried to make amends for that in various ways. And I don't know, if some things you really never can make amends for. So that's how I feel. And thanks for asking, because that's a very good question. Thank you. Alright, let me tune out for now.